Hi, this is Dan Dyer. I'm with the Idaho Assistive Technology Project, and you guys might know me. I've been around, and I've been to your district a few times. So some of the things that we offer is the lending library, where you can borrow equipment like iPads or communication devices, visual equipment, hearing assistive equipment, all types of different stuff. You can borrow and try out with your students to see if it works for them. And I was asked today to provide some ideas for you related to speech to text and also text to speech. So, speech to text, that's where you talk and the computer translates what you're saying into text. And then text to speech, that's where you take some text and the computer reads it to you. And I'm going to talk about some of the more popular tools for those two features for the Chromebook, the Windows computer, and the iPad. So just a special note, keep in mind that if I'm talking about a tool for for a Chromebook, chances are that that same tool or piece of software will work on a Windows computer, just as long as that Windows computer is running the Chrome internet browser. So it's kind of handy because if you have students using some items on a Chromebook, they can go and jump on a Windows computer and use those same tools. They're pretty interchangeable. So let's see. Let's start with speech to text. So this is where you speak and the computer types. And I'm going to start with Chromebooks. So the one that I like the best for Chromebooks is voice typing. And this is a feature that's in Google Docs. It's already there, so you don't have to install or do anything. All you have to do is turn it on, and it's there for the students. So if you go to a Google Doc, so I've got my Google Doc open here. If you click on Tools, and then you click on the voice typing icon, you'll get this little pop-up button, and then if I click here, it'll start listening to me, and it'll hopefully start turning my voice into text on the screen here. And you can do a lot with this. You can do some basic punctuations, like if I say comma, and then if I say next paragraph, and let's see if that works. So yeah, it looks like it didn't pick up the next paragraph, but as you can see, it really does just kind of flow and go with you, and you can actually type quite a bit with it. And when you're done, you tap on the microphone button, and yeah, let's see how it works. So as you can see, it doesn't do a 100% accurate job. I would have got a little bit better accuracy if I was using a headset microphone. Right now, I'm just using the mic that's built into my PC, but definitely if you're using this in like a noisy classroom, you're going to want to use a headset mic. But yeah, anyway, this is just a free way to get going with speech recognition, and it's kind of nice because the student doesn't have to train this. You can just boot it up, click the button, and start going. So it's kind of handy that way. So let's move on. That was for, again, the Chromebook, but also for the Windows PC. It'll work on either of those. So for Windows PCs, you can use that same feature that I just showed you, the voice typing, or if you want, if you have students that need a little bit more intensive software, you could look at the Dragon Naturally Speaking software. And that's going to be for maybe some older students that are doing a lot more writing, and they need a little bit more powerful of a tool. It does take some time to set up, and it's honestly it can be very frustrating. But for students that do find a lot of success with speech to text, this is a kind of a next step software program that they might look into. But for your younger kids or those that are just starting out, I think that voice typing feature that I showed you in Google Docs is a pretty decent way to start out with. And then Windows itself does have speech recognition built into it, so that's another way to go about doing this. Yeah, and so then on the iPad, there's a few ways to do it. If you have a newer iPad, so anything newer than an iPad 1 or an iPad 2, so the iPad 3, the iPad Air, the iPad Retina, anything that was any iPad from the last few years, speech recognition is going to be built into it already. So let me show you my iPad here. Okay, so here's a newer iPad, and as long as you have a fairly new iPad, you just connect it to the internet, and then you should see a little microphone button here. And if I tap on that, then it's going to start listening to me, and you can see that it's putting my voice up here. And this is fairly accurate. it's kind of on par with the tool that I just showed you in Google Docs. Um, and so as long as you have a newer iPad, I mean, this is a pretty good tool, and it'll work basically anywhere that you can type. You just click that microphone button and it will put your speech in there instead of having to type. So that can be very handy and useful. If you're using an older iPad, so if you have an original iPad or a second generation iPad, then that feature isn't built in, so you'll have to install a separate app called Dragon Dictation. So there is still a way to do it on those older iPads, but you do need to use a separate app for it. And you guys should have a copy of this PowerPoint. If you click on any of these underlined words here, it'll take you off to the website, and so you can grab this software if you're interested in any of it. And again, the iPad, it recognizes your voice fairly well, but if the student's going to be in a noisy environment, then maybe grab a headset microphone or an earbud microphone for them just to get them that little bit better of speech to text quality. So that was speech to text for the iPad and the Chromebook and the Windows computer. Let's move on now to text to speech. So again, this is the opposite. This is where the computer is going to read to you. And the first one I want to show you is for Chromebook. So this is a plugin. It's called Read and Write, and it's for Google Docs. So if I go back to my Google Doc here, I can show you what this does. So after you install this plugin, what you're going to get is this little purple tab right here. And if I click on it, it's going to give me a drop-down menu. And now I have text to speech. So if I want to read out loud any text, all I have to do is put the cursor before it and then just click the play button.
Me and turning my voice into text on the screen here, and you can do a lot with this. So you can do some basic punctuation. So I say,
and it will read text aloud, and you can change that voice speed if you want to slow it down, speed it up. And I don't know if you noticed, but it also highlights each word as it goes along.
Me and turning my...
So that way the student can follow along with their eyes and their ears. And so this is a very useful tool, and this functionality, just the basic text-to-speech, is completely free. So you can pay if you want more features, but just the basic feature that I'm showing you right now is free. So if you want to download and install that, that's just a basic way to add text-to-speech to your Google Doc. The other cool thing is that this plugin actually will work anywhere on the internet. So if I go to like a news website or just anywhere that has text. So maybe I'll just go to like Wikipedia. Yeah, here we go. And I'll just search for an article and say you have a student that's needing to read this, but is needing some support. What they can do is they can click on the read and write icon, which is up here now, and it'll give you a little floating toolbar. And it works just the same, and it actually has another feature where if you hover your mouse over any text, it will start reading it. So if I turn that on by clicking the little bubble here, and then I just navigate my mouse over what I want read aloud, it'll do that.
Their long association with humans has led dogs to be uniquely attuned to human behavior.
And then if I move
12,
my mouse, it'll jump wherever I want it to read from there
This
on.
influence on human society has given them the domestic dog Canis lupus family.
So that's a way to get that functionality on the internet outside of Google Docs. So it'll work, again, within Google Docs or outside of Google Docs. So it's kind of a nice tool. There's another one that I like just because it's a little bit simpler. So this one is called Speak It. And how it works is you just highlight what you want read aloud, right-click, and then click Speak.
Their long association with humans has led dogs to be uniquely attuned to human behavior.
And I had my other one still on, so let me turn that one off first and try that again. So if I highlight the word, right-click, and then hit Speak It.
Dogs to be uniquely attuned.
And it only reads whatever I highlighted. So this might be a little bit easier for some students to use.
Word whoop. The modern.
Or maybe they like the other one better. It's just a little bit two different approaches. So I like to include that one. So let's move on to the Windows computer. So again, I'm actually using a Windows computer right now, and as you can see, these Chrome plugins work just fine on it. So you're welcome to use this on your Windows PCs as well as the Speak It. Either of those will work just like they work on the Chromebook. There are some additional ones that work on the PC. So Free Natural Reader is one. And this is a software program that just floats on top of whatever you're doing. So you can use it to read out loud like Microsoft Word documents, PowerPoints, stuff outside of your web browser. Free Natural Reader will read out loud. And moving on to the iPad. So there are a few tools for iPad. It actually has a feature built into it for reading out loud text. So let me show you that one. So the first one is called Speak Selection. And how this works is as long as you can highlight text, it will read it out loud. So I just got a Word document here. And if I go in and I highlight a word, or let me actually highlight a couple words, or maybe even a phrase, and then you'll see that I have a speak button right there. If I click speak, and it reads it out loud. And this is built into the iPad. All you have to do is turn that on, and then it'll always be there for the students. So as long as they can tap on the letters and highlight it.
And then you speak out your message, and as you're speaking, actually type it for you.
And that works anywhere that you have text that you can highlight. So it'll work on the internet, within apps, just as long as you're able to tap on that word and highlight it, it's golden. The other way to have text read out loud is more of a global approach. So this is a feature you can turn on where if you swipe down from the top of the screen with 2 fingers,
and then you speak out your message, and as you're speaking, actually,
this one gives you that floating toolbar. And so all you have to do is click play.
We type it for you, ceiling, and have to.
Or if you want to adjust the reading speed right there, you can. So if I wanted to turn it down, I could.
It up there, and it'll start listening to you. Turn your voice into text for you as the law is doing.
So there's 2 different ways to do text-to-speech on the iPad for free. Again, these are already built-in tools. The only thing you have to do is turn them on. So if you go into the Settings app, click on General, and then Accessibility, and you'll see that there'll be a Speech tab, and this is where you turn these features on. And so if you just make yours look like mine, then you'll have access to those. And so again, if you swipe down with 2 fingers,
Speak selection on. A speak button will appear.
It gives you that nice floating toolbar. And then it also gives you the second feature where if you just want smaller chunks of text read out loud, as long as you can highlight it, then it gives you that speak.
Type it up there, and it'll start listening to you. Turn your voice into text for you as the law.
And you can tweak that reading speed as well. So those are 2 nice, really free built-in ways to do that on the iPad. And then tons and tons of third-party apps are available for text-to-speech as well. So I listed 3 on your slide there: the iWordQ, Voice Stream Reader, and then Read to Go. I'll show you iWordQ. It's kind of a neat one. So this does reading and writing support. So for writing, it's going to give me word prediction. So if I tap the first letter, it's going to give me a list of predicted words. And so maybe I don't know how to spell a word, but maybe I can recognize it. So then I can tap on that word, and it says it out loud so that I can make sure it's right. I can hear it, and then it also puts it in the document for me. And so this is the writing side of this program. I can flip then over to the reading portion, and whatever text I have in here, it reads to me. And I can jump around just by tapping around.
Reading mode is useful for proofreading.
And you have a few different reading modes, and yeah, just a nice program that incorporates a few different assistive features into it.
This enhances comprehension and readability of text by focusing on one text chunk at a time.
And that was iWordQ, and that's listed on the slide there. So moving along then, what's my next section here is going to be... Okay, so some other useful iPad apps. So these are going to be features where if you want to, like say you have a printed worksheet and you want to make it more accessible for a student, what you can actually do is snap a picture of that worksheet with the iPad, and then the iPad can read aloud the text that's printed on it. or you can make it so that the student can then input their responses to that worksheet. So all of the ones listed in black there are going to do this to a certain extent, and these are just different options. I think the one that works the best is KNFB Reader for reading text out loud, but it is the most expensive. So if you want to save some money but not have as much functionality, then Prismo is about $10, whereas the KNFB Reader is about $100. So, and then there are free ones as well. So Claro Pen, I believe, has a free demo version. So these are just some options to do this if you're interested in this approach. So let me show you what it actually looks like if you're going to try and do this. So I've got a worksheet here, or just some printed text. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and take my iPad here and open up. Let me just show you the KNFB reader. It's
Some cylinder block studs should stick up.
It's the expensive one, but it works very well. So what you do is you just open up the iPad's camera, focus it over your text, and then snap a picture.
Pegs to SGD, guidelines and recommendations for a successful transition. Position statement. Pyramid Educational Consultants position.
And so this works very well. So as you can see, that was very quick. I just took a picture of this piece of paper, and then it automatically starts reading it out loud. It is going to miss some words. It's going to mess up, but this is the best app that I know of for this. It hardly makes any mistakes, and it's very quick and fluid. Again, if you want a cheaper version of this, then I would look at either the Prismo or the Claro Scan Pen. And they do a similar job, not quite as well at translating, but you know, the price difference, it kind of explains that. And then if you want to, this text here, as you can see, all it is just text, and then the iPad reads it aloud. But what if this was a worksheet? So you want the student to be able to, you know, put their own answers into this once you scan it in. You can do that. So one way to do that is to use either the Go Worksheet Maker app or the Claro PDF app that I have listed here at the bottom. And let me see if I can show you kind of what that looks like. So okay, so right now I've got Prismo opened up, and I'm going to take a picture of this page. So I have that. Now I'm going to export it. And I'm going to send it to Claro PDF. So now, as you can see, it keeps my formatting. So what the student sees on the iPad is exactly what they would see on the printed page. And the first thing that this app can do is actually read the text aloud to the student.
Page registered signed to SGD. Guidelines and recommendations for a successful transition. Position statement. Pyramid Educational Consultant.
And so it's not going to be perfect text-to-speech, but it is going to get most of the words, and it's a way to make the page a little bit more accessible. But the other cool thing is that now let's say that I wanted to input my own writing. I could do that. So what I can do is make a text box. And there's my text box. And so then I can type into here just normally. Or since I'm using a newer iPad, I can use my speech-to-text. So I could click on my speech-to-text icon there. And then now it's actually using my voice and turning it into text there. And so that's just an example of a way that you can make a worksheet a little bit more accessible for a student. The Go Worksheet Maker app actually has a little bit more functionality. So the Go Worksheet Maker app will actually allow you to program in like multiple choice questions, and the student just drags and drops. So these are just you know, a few examples, and if you wanted to, we could send you out an iPad with all these different apps loaded up so you could kind of play around with them and see which one you like best. If you want to do word prediction on a Chromebook, you can do that with ClaroSpeak. So let me open up my Chrome app here. And this is what this looks like. And so it's just a floating window. And if I type the first letter of a word, then it'll give me 5 words that it thinks I might be trying to go for. And if I hover my mouse over each one of them, it'll read it aloud to me.
Then, there, the, that,
When I find the one that I want, I would click on it,
talk,
and it will put it into my document for me. So this is a way to do word prediction, and it also has a text reader,
talk,
so it'll read aloud your writing as well. So this can be helpful for students that are struggling writers. They can hear their own writing as they go along. So let's see if this is turned on. This is a talking word processor. And what I could do is set it up so that once I finish the sentence, it would read that sentence back to me. And so once I put the period in there,
this is a talking word processor.
so the student can hear back their sentence, and maybe their ear would pick up something that their eye missed and say, oh, I didn't quite mean to say this word or that word. So this is a free tool for Chrome that will give you that word prediction as well as the talking word processor. So if you're using a Chromebook, you are able to use some assistive hardware. So you can plug in your big keyboards or your joystick and mice or your switches, just as long as they're plug and play. So if you can just plug them into the Chromebook and they boot up, they don't need any drivers or anything, then they'll work. If you have like an accessory that you have to install software for, then it won't work on the Chromebook. So some of your hardware will work, some of it won't. A lot of it actually will work though. So just keep that in mind. You can use like assistive mice and keyboards with Chromebook. And if you need more guidance on this, I'll be happy to provide it. And we have all of this type of equipment as well. We have tons of different mice and joysticks and assistive mice and just different ways that students with physical disabilities can access a computer. This is called a reading pen. And this is a fairly new device. There's a new model that just came out that I'll show you that works a lot better than the older model. And this is a physical tool that you actually use to scan in words or lines of text. And so for the student that needs occasional reading support, this can be very useful. So all the student has to do is just scan in a single word or a line, and it will actually read that out loud to the student. And as long as they hold the pen at a good angle and scan with a consistent speed, it's very accurate. So let me try that again. And so I missed, actually, no, I got it right. And let me just try that one more time. And so it talks kind of quietly, so you might not have been able to hear that very well, but if it's too quiet, the student can put in an earbud there, and it's meant to be a little bit quiet, so it's not disturbing to the other students. But the other cool thing that this can do is, say a student doesn't know the definition of a word, they can actually scan that word and the device will show them the definition and read the definition out loud to that student. And the other thing that it can do is it can record your voice. So if a student is struggling with writing and just wants to get all their thoughts out quickly, they can turn on the voice recorder on here and speak into this. And so they at least have that to go off of. Or say if their teacher is explaining something to them, they can turn on that recording feature and record their teacher so they can go back and listen to it later on. So these are very handy tools that are useful for a variety of things, but mainly it's that text-to-speech feature that's very useful. And again, if you want to borrow one of these, you're definitely welcome to. So that's going to end my presentation today. Again, if you guys want to try and borrow any of the stuff from us, you're more than welcome to. We can also visit your school and work with your students on IEPs if you need some help brainstorming what might be useful for them. So feel free to contact me, or you can look on our lending website directly, which is the Idaho AT for All website. And this just lists all of our equipment. So if you wanted to look for items related to reading, you could search for reading, and it would show you, just kind of what's out there. So, and as you can see, we have tons of stuff. So, yeah, feel free to send me any questions you might have. Other than that, thanks for listening today, and yeah, take care.